for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of That's a Shame. I am Declan, somewhere in Scotland, somewhere in
Specifically
time.
the street.
Is Isaac.
Hello, how's it going?
It's not too bad, but for the absolute travesty that is this recording.
Yeah, so let's explain a bit of context to what's going on. I'm currently just being followed by someone who's trying to work out what I'm doing because I'm walking in circles around this little street, trying to cling loosely onto a Wi-Fi connection that has had better days, I think.
Right.
And talking into my iPhone.
And why is this, Isaac?
Well, it's a good question. I'm in Edinburgh. That's kind of the overarching reason, I suppose. More specifically, the otherwise lovely flat that we're staying in, has got a Wi-Fi connection that is made of dreams and broken ones at that. So it's always a good feature when the Wi-Fi is stronger on the street than in the house. I find that's a nice touch.
Have they just got it facing the wrong way?
And they just have it outside. It's just like a public Wi-Fi that they're doing as a service. So all the car sounds that you're hearing now, the birds that will inevitably come and claw their way through the show.
Those aren't after effects. Those are live wildlife straight from the streets of Edinburgh.
I know. Well, in a way, I'm kind of a roving reporter figure, I suppose, because I am just here, like, in Edinburgh, I'm amongst the people, and they're all looking at me like I'm a serial killer of some sort because of this walking and talking.
I'm actually somewhat surprised by that last bit because I've been there to the Fringe twice now, and it seems that everyone is doing what you're doing right now. True.
I have seen some people vlogging.
Oh, no.
I know, I was afraid to have to tell you the bad news. It's that vlogging is still in Edinburgh. It hasn't gone away. It's here to stay. But
the Fringe has only just discovered it, so we're fucked.
Oh, dear. I'm quite far, or at least I'm like sufficiently far away from the Mile, which is, for our non-Edinburgh visiting listeners, like the epicenter of the festival. I'm about 35 minutes away, maybe, so everyone here is just living their lives normally. Specifically, there's a boy playing basketball by himself. There's a dog that's pregnant
you're in the
with
Bronx.
a bark. That's me, coming at you live from the garden. But yes, we're powering through. So sorry about the audio quality here. I'll find a better solution for episode 32, which will probably it won't make me look any less mad because I'll just go and have to talk to myself in like a public setting where there's free Wi-Fi. So that will be a shame. But yes, what an episode it's going to be, am I right?
It's
All 12 minutes of it.
Our first Edinburgh Fringe special.
Oh,
certainly special for me because I'm not going this year.
Special for me because I'm... Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, there are three of them chasing each other. I feel like we've changed into Springwatch. Oh dear.
What spring listen?
Yeah. The Springwatch podcast would be incredible.
Yeah, Bill Oddie originally wanted to do it on the radio, but they warned him it was probably a failed format.
Oh, but yes, I'm at the festival in the most general sense. I've been on the Mile once for about 2 seconds. I've been out in daylight for the first time today, I think. So I haven't really seen anything other than Pollyanna, which is the show that my girlfriend's producing 3 times now. But I thought, as we discussed, we were going to talk about, maybe we talk about like past Fringe things now, and then I'll have some proper updates for the next episode.
Yeah.
And you, of course, you went before I'd even heard of Edinburgh.
Did I?
No, that's not quite true. But you went a year before I did.
Yeah. Well, I went up. I think just because I never had, and I just wanted to leave the house, and I'd just come into some
better to leave it there.
Yeah. Well,
hundreds of miles.
I'd also just come into some inheritance money, and I was desperate to spend some of it. Not much, but I was like, my philosophy is that it's better to have spent money than to have it. So
yeah. And how's that doing with the old bank?
it's really helping.
You're not coming up to that.
I need to kill off some relatives. It's helping a lot with the present and the past, less so with the future, but we'll come to that.
Yes. We'll cross that bridge when it arrives.
So I didn't really know if anyone was up there, and I wasn't really staying with anyone, and I wasn't really going to see anything specific.
Where were you staying?
So I booked to stay at the uni accommodation.
Ah. Was it expensive?
No, it was actually surprisingly cheap, which is why I was able to do it.
There's a hotel that I walk past, or at least I used to walk past it every day last year, and it's an Ibis or something, and it has that thing where
I remember it has
a screen
the counter out the front.
Yeah, it tells you like their going rate for a room. And I arrived a few days before the festival kicked off for rehearsals, and it was like 80 quid or something a room, which is still like not great, but it's the middle of a city, so fair. And I drove past it today, like an hour ago. It was £426 a night. That's mad.
No,
it's like you have to stay in the bridal suite.
Yeah. I think I managed to get I stayed for 5 nights, and I think I got it for like 100 and something quid. So it was pretty good. Pretty good rate. But it is also really fucking far away from everything.
Yes.
So when I arrived, like I got a cab there, and the cab helpfully took a kind of back route there, which managed to show me none of where any of the festival was. So I was certain that I was in a different city. I was at the Glasgow Fringe. Yeah. So I arrived and like the room was fine. I like set up shop, and I messaged a couple of people saying like, I'm here. Are you around? What's going on? But I had been traveling since about 4 a.m, so I decided to have a bit of a sleep, and then got up in the evening a bit too late, and I was on my way to go and see a show that some of our friends were in.
Okay,
and the map on their flyer was so preposterously unhelpful, because the thing about Edinburgh, for those who haven't been, is it's a city on about 3 different levels.
Yeah.
And I mean that physically, not like mentally.
It's like
or socially.
That would be a lovely, like poetic approach to describing Edinburgh's class system.
Yeah.
But no, it's like a Mario level in places. Because you can go onto a bridge where you're overlooking what just appeared to be a street at the height of the city. It's weird.
Yeah.
That, there are some streets that are just like double decker.
It's a bit like an Escher drawing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it's very strange.
You don't quite know where you are. But their map said to go straight across this bridge, but what it meant was go underneath it. And that's where we are. So I ended up on the other side of the railway station. And so I missed it. So I decided to just go for a little walk around town to see what was going on, see what the nightlife was like. I seemed to be going on a pretty dead night. There wasn't very much going on. But this just made my night all the more surreal. There were 2 standout events. One, I walked down an alleyway, which is what Edinburgh seems to be mostly comprised of.
It's amazing that you can have this many alleyways without any major thoroughfares. Because normally they have to go off something, but they all just go off each other.
Yeah, it's just a labyrinth.
It's baffling.
And whilst in this alleyway, a dwarf on a scooter in school uniform scooted up to me, if that is the correct verb, lapped me twice. And then just
going round you?
Yep. And then just scooted away.
That's like a kind of threatening thing, isn't it? Like in films where the jets and the sharks appear and click around you. He was showing you were in his turf.
The dwarf mafia is going to get me.
Like the Mexican
school dwarf
fighting league. Do you remember the story that is on the Ricky Gervais
show? When he fought the lion.
Yeah, they were. It was a whole team. Is team the right word?
Squad.
Or league? Yeah. Battalion of
A squad of dwarfs.
little people who were all wrestlers or something. Oh, good job I'm under the planes bit. This plane is about 20 feet in the sky. Like, no joke. I could touch it. Oh, God, it's like
grab on.
I think a war's about to start because it's not a normal-looking plane. It's an absolute military operation. Well, you heard it here first.
Are you getting Donald Trumped into the next?
I think so. Am I in the Guam Fringe? Is that what's happening? I knew I'd taken a wrong turn. Oh dear. I can't even be bothered to recount any more about these Mexican fighters, but they were all killed by a lion and it was very sad.
That's all you need to know.
The end.
But the next notable event of the night was I sort of took a walk around some of the pubs and bars, taking in the real Edinburgh scene. And I was about to head home and I noticed a couple of people gathered around a bit of street theatre.
That's a shame.
Now, ordinarily, as we all know, street theatre is bunk. It is fucking useless, pathetic, talentless morons doing shit art for no money in a hat.
Yeah.
Right? But I thought, when in Rome, when in Guam...
do as the Guamanians.
When in the kingdom of the seagulls.
Can you hear the guys?
Yeah.
There they are. They're just circling overhead like I'm carrion. They know something I don't about my health. I'm about to be attacked by a bear.
And so I figured, come on, I'll go and have a look. And it wasn't actually that bad. It was sort of like a 2-person piece about like a dispute. I didn't quite know what was going on. But then after about 10 minutes, they turned around, these actors, and they told us all to fuck off.
Oh.
And it turned out that they weren't actors. They were just a couple having a domestic outside of a pub, and everyone had mistaken it for street art and gathered round to watch.
That's so good.
And when they told us
a lot about the average quality of a performance at the Fringe.
Well, exactly, yeah. I was getting ready to write a review. I was like, this is voracious intensity. Yeah. I thought, because we all thought when they said to fuck off that it was some kind of avant-garde ending.
Yeah.
Like when we went to see that shit rendition of Clockwork Orange at York, and it ended with that sign that said, "Don't applaud, just leave."
Oh, that was a shame.
Like, no bows. I thought it was something like that. But then they actually wanted to fight someone because...
God, it's very immersive. I just got punched in the face. It's a real treat for all the senses.
It's like you were there. So I went home feeling somewhat cheated.
As you would, I think. You should have asked them if you could borrow it for your own piece.
For a little verbatim piece.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Well, I said we'd talk about not things that are happening at the moment, Fringe, but it's too specifically similar to ignore. Because last night...
You're going to tell me about a dwarf, aren't you?
That's him. It could be the same guy. I mean, I don't know why I think that. Is that kind of dwarf racist?
You absolute dwarfist. Look, just because they were a creepy school uniform dwarf on a scooter doesn't mean they were the only.
Like in Bruges, isn't it?
Oh my God.
It's very similar. Oh, good. Cars are starting to pull up at 1 mile an hour. That's right, guys. Rev more. Okay, so last night, it's a cabaret, Pollyanna, and one of the acts this year.
It's not just a cabaret, is it?
Oh, should we dive deep into it now, or shall I do?
I mean, you may as well just explain so that this story has at least some context. It's not like your school talent show cabaret, and then a fucking dwarf turned up with his cock out or something. Like there is. There is.
Story already.
I was there last year.
Oh, true. Yes,
you may as well give a bit more
context. Well, it's billed as it's kind of
the gayest show on earth.
Queer cabaret. That's pretty much the way. It's a queer cabaret. I'm trying to remember more of the terms they use, and it's supposed to be just extravagant and messy and like bizarre, and or not all, but the majority of the acts are like LGBTQ performers who do either single pieces that they've worked on for cabaret or snippets of their show. So they get Soho Theatre people who are like the cool theatre. Last year there was a performer called Lucy McCormick who had written a show that was a retelling in the loosest sense possible of the New Testament. And she had this great line. She's northern and she has a really good delivery. Did you see her mini show at Pollyanna?
No, I didn't, no.
Oh, well, I saw the mini show about 8 times because I was there most nights. But then I saw the full show, and she's northern and she has a kind of like ponderous delivery that's, you can't quite tell if she's making a joke or not. But obviously she is, because it's like a good show. And she described it as, when she read the New Testament, it was just like really reflected where I am as an artist at the moment, which I think is a great line. And the retelling involved, all kinds of orifices and all kinds of entries thereinto. It was a bit about the doubting Thomas moment in the Bible, where Jesus gets...
That sounds like a pun just waiting to happen.
Yeah, he gets him to place his fingers into the stigmata. Are they called stigmata if it's real? Presumably not. They're just wounds, aren't they? Like, Jesus didn't have stigmata because he was actually crucified.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Thomas has to feel for himself that Jesus, has these big gaping holes in his wrist from where he was crucified, because he's a doubting little idiot, it turns out. And that was kind of ramped up as every potential orifice was explored as a form of, assuaging his doubt. There was some crowd surfing. She did... This is a good joke as well. In the bit where they run up to the tomb to find that the stone has been rolled and that, there's like... Isn't there an angel inside? I don't know this story that well. There's some cloth folded up that was on the body. In that bit, she very briefly introduced it and then launched straight into Justin Bieber's Sorry, all of which is the build-up to the one joke, I'm missing more than just your body, which is a line in the song. But because it was actually a really good payoff. It doesn't sound like a great joke on paper, but because it was so blindsiding that she just started this really, she's really talented, very well delivered performance of Justin Bieber. You're like, where are you going with this? And then when the joke crescendoed, it was great. So it's that kind of thing. Did you see Grumble the Sex Clown last year?
I can regrettably say that I did, yes.
And so tell us about that, because she's another regular Pollyanna performer.
No, I cannot do it justice because I would just start weeping.
Well, I mean, I don't know much more. It's a sort of, I think the show was a little bit about climate change or saving the world in general, and it involved,
as the title suggests,
it involved like a big planet Earth. She was wearing like bin bags and then not wearing bin bags for the most part for the rest of the show. There was some kind of sparkler insertion. I think, didn't you have to fuck planet Earth at some point?
Yeah,
it was all covered in oil. Like it's all. What I'm saying is, it's mental, and it's very. Like, I had not, because last year was my first time at the Fringe, and Pollyanna it showcases all of the most extreme things you're likely to find, pretty much. And I hadn't really realised, I didn't know fingering someone on stage was legal. Seemed like. But then it just became the bread and butter of my experience, not me doing it. So yes, Pollyanna last night, and indeed every night, and if you're at the Fringe, not only should you tweet and say hello, and we'll just avoid each other from there on, but come along to Paradise Palms I think Sunday through Thursday or something, every night, and get involved. But the show, Polly Filler is the host, and it's an alternative drag act. It's not drag that's about like men embodying female experience or the other way around, which is like drag queen, drag king. It's supposed to be like an alternative, just an other they, them kind of creature that's the makeup that Polyfiller has is just madness. It's like you exploded a crayon factory all over someone's face and then gave them, because he's really big.
Tried to mould it into war paint.
Yeah, it does have a war paint vibe, and huge like boots and yeah, it's all very extravagant. And Polyfiller's act this year is called Teresa the Musical. Last year it was Brexit.
Is Polyfiller the one who did Brexit the Musical? Yeah.
Yes.
Brexit the Musical was an experience.
It really was.
It involved having various members of the audience up on stage wearing political masks and being variously insulted.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of it, but I do remember that the culmination was the wonderful Polyfiller themselves inserting a dildo into their anus, which had an EU flag attached to it.
That's the one, yeah. I always get confused if that was Brexit the Musical or Hairspray. Like, I can never remember which scene that comes from. You have to be careful about what you're buying tickets for.
Is that Hamilton, yes, did you
say? It. My name is Alexander Hamilton. Watch this flag.
Shove this in my arse.
It just ends. The audience is just stunned silence as Lin-Manuel squats in preparation. That would be the most horrible thing. I would hate it.
The thing about it was that everyone in the audience, I think, knew that it was coming.
Yeah,
because it was billed around the whole city as the show where someone shoves a flag in their ass.
Or at least that was like the word of mouth about it. That was the buzz.
And so everyone knew it was coming. But there's about 10 minutes of preparation and getting into position for it. It's like you have time to go up to the bar, get a drink, come back, get a good position, get on your tiptoes and watch as a man literally inserts a dildo with a flag on it into his own anus.
The cabaret as a whole is it's like political, it's about gender and masculinity and things like that. So this year, Teresa the Musical, similar element.
No, you don't say.
There's an amazing bit in it though where he's got this amazing Theresa May wig, which is just it looks like you've sat on a grey poodle and it's just like deflated onto someone's head. In the same way that Donald Trump's hair looks like it came from another planet to control his mind. It just sort of sits there with no indication that it's part of the same entity. And he's wearing this amazing, like, tight jacket and short skirt that just has the look of a kind of Quentin Blake headmistress character. And just starts, like, going mad as the audio clip of Theresa May saying, "Well, I once used to run through the fields of wheat, and I tell you what, the farmers weren't very happy about that," plays as her ultimate transgression. And then, like last night, there was Weetabix instead of wheat is their budget, and the audience just sort of holds them up and then attempts to facilitate the crowd surfing of a man who's about 6'4", wearing like about 8 stone of costume through Weetabix while We Are the Champions is playing, I think. And it's all like, if it sounds mad, it's because it is. And it's
fully mental.
You have to experience it. Last night, to get full circle back to the dwarf story, it's not even a story, it was just amusing. Because the stage, it's kind of pink and red is the lighting theme. And so essentially the stage could be thought of as a red room, if you see where I'm going with this. And in the Teresa the Musical, one of the participants happened to be I don't know what term we're supposed to use. Is it little person, dwarf? Does it depend on a per person basis?
We've been going with dwarf for 30 episodes. Let's stick with it.
Make it sound like we have a feature where we like dwarf of the day.
It's dwarf of the
week. One of the participants happened to be a dwarf and came on and within seconds was wearing a Nicola Sturgeon mask and like gyrating to rapturous applause, whilst kind of jazzy undertones created the most horrifically Twin Peaks experience of my life as I was watching from backstage. It was just so odd. Yeah, if you haven't seen it and you're in Edinburgh, then come along and tweet or email us your thoughts, because it's quite unlike anything else.
Because I did eventually get to see that show that our friends were in.
Oh yeah, what was it?
It was the Titus Andronicus.
Yes.
That they did, but where, get this, the couple is gay.
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
Wasn't this the one that was all monochrome? That was the theme.
That's the one.
And they bled, but didn't each opposing side bleed the other side's colour or something?
Not that I noticed.
Okay, good.
And I was there for the full 9 hours of the show. There were a couple of things about it. Our friend Zoe was playing, oh my God, I can't remember the character's name, the evil queen in it. And there's a scene where they're blindfolded, standing on like a set of crates. I think that's in the original Shakespeare, that one. And she did like a really kind of quite impressively good job of then climbing down and navigating these blocks and then walking out the room and then past the curtains. Or
while blindfolded.
Yeah, and the show itself was somewhat deplorable. That moment itself was quite impressive. And when I was speaking to her the next day, I brought it up. I was like, "Wow, that's really good. Like, you know, how did you kind of learn to do that?" And her answer was essentially by conditioning, and she lifted up her t-shirt a bit to show me the most enormous black bruise from where on previous nights she had simply just fallen. I happened to just be there on a good night.
That's what people do. They suffer for their art.
Exactly. Especially at the hands of this specific director.
Oh, yes. But, so I bumped into a friend of ours last night at Pollyanna. Andy, I'm going to call him because this is his name, off of my course. And we were discussing, he directed a show we've maybe mentioned before on this podcast, I think. Romeo and Juliet.
We mentioned it because of the Goal tweet, didn't we?
Oh, that's right.
What a great production. Goal!
So I was just navigating a door. As part of my on-the-street reporting. And so, as we mentioned, or we'll reiterate, we weren't fans of the concept. We didn't see the show. But the premise was that Romeo and Juliet were both men and both playing for opposing football teams. And so I don't think that's an uninteresting premise. Like, I think you can work with it because it becomes about like masculinity, and especially in sport where it's about having to, you know, like one Premiership footballer is out as gay or something, or maybe it's none.
I think it's none.
I forget. None is even fewer than one. We must remind ourselves. But yeah, so they had no LGBT people in the production. I don't think any of the actors, as far as I know, or any of the the dramaturg and stuff. But it was revealed, much to my amusement, because I like Andy. Like, we get on well enough.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Well. But he told me that they wanted originally to have in the audience some people live tweeting the show as if it were a sporting match, as if it were a football match, like kind of commentating on social media. And you'll never guess who his first picks were for those two people.
No.
Yeah. It was only Isaac and Declan. That's a shame.
Are you kidding? I can't imagine the wealth of people involved in that show who shot that idea down.
Yes, he named just the particular people who shot it down, who thought that we might, I think the exact phrase was, overwhelm the production. Isn't that lovely? But I thought that was very sweet. It was very nice of them to think.
That is sweet. Oh my God, could you imagine if we had been doing that?
We'd no longer be friends with any of those people.
Or anyone they knew. What did he like? Was his expectation that we would do this in a positive sense?
I don't know. I think we were supposed to be involved in the fiction, so I don't think it was just like, oh, Bob forgot a line or whatever. It was supposed to be like, things are really hotting up with the Capulets. Looks like the Montagues have gone for the classic 4-4-2 formation. What's that? Romeo is reaching out across enemy lines, and not with the body part you were expecting.
Jesus Christ, Tybalt's there, drastically offside, by which I mean dead.
Dead.
Hashtag, by which I mean dead.
But yes, I thought that was a nice...
that is quite good.
Yeah, an enjoyable...
Tell him to keep us in mind for all future productions.
He asked about our radio project. He described it as. So it's clearly it's making waves in the past.
Wow.
And also his girlfriend Lily, who we know, she used to be in charge of Drama Sock in our first year. I don't know her very well, although as I told her, I was like, I don't know you very well, but I do have your number, which is an odd because she, I think, like, was encouraged by the previous chair of Drama Sock to be like, here's my number, guys, just text me any questions you have about drama.
I'm surprised we didn't abuse that privilege.
I know.
Should we just text her now? What time? When's the next show?
Just wondering if Andy's got any commentating to go. So I was like, yeah, we've met before. We don't know each other very well. And she was like, Isaac, as in Isaac and Declan. I was like, that's up. It's the power couple. So it was two validating experiences. I know. Well, exactly. See, Edinburgh is just crying out for your presence. I think we have to make next year a big one.
I think so. We'll go up. We'll do some live tweeting.
We could do like a little That's a Shame, assuming that we're both alive, out of prison, sober at the time. We could do maybe, we might have enough of an audience by then to get 3 people in a room and shout at them for an hour.
Yeah.
Or if you've got an EU flag and a flexible rectum, then I know just the slot.
I'll bring the rectum, you bring the lube. One of the reasons that I brought up the Titus Andronicus show is because we spoke a couple of weeks ago when we did the auditions episode about when I did Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yes.
And one of the things we didn't mention was that as well as directing the show, I ended up being in it.
Yes. Cool.
Because 5 days before we went on for our opening night, one of the guys in the cast dropped out.
Yep.
Claiming that his course was too stressful as a first-year philosophy student.
Yes, and I'll just point out as a point of fact that first year doesn't actually count for your overall grade in philosophy and many other subjects.
In anything.
Yeah, I think it probably does in some, but there's no... I don't think it was possible to fail first year.
And philosophy, how's the stress level there, Isaac?
Minimal. The department, as is the case with all philosophy teachers that I've ever come across, they could not give less of a fuck about the bureaucracy of their position. So if you don't do a bit of work, or if you don't turn up, they just forget instantly. Like, they could not be less interested. And I assumed at the time that there was like more to the story and maybe like a valid reason masked by this one, but it just felt, because it is a hugely, like, it's a massive dick move to let people down like that. So I think it's
also, we realised at the time, the only character who is on stage for the entire show. No joke, is never off stage.
Yeah, but I think like there are like valid reasons to pull out. I just wish you'd been like,
of course there are,
it's a personal thing. Like, I don't want to talk about it, but I hope you'll understand. Rather than just be like, well, it's very stressful as a first-year philosophy student, and then expect that not to be just taken ridiculed, as the obvious bullshit that it was. Yes. So you stepped in.
So I stepped in, but whenever I saw this guy around campus for the next year of my course, I was sure to point to him and say, "Hey, weren't you that guy in Glengarry Glen Ross?"
He liked that, did he? Took that well?
Hated it.
Oh, that's
often would hang his head and run away.
Didn't he swear at you?
Oh, once or twice, I'm sure. People are always doing that, so it's hard to tell. Anyway, he was in this show. He was playing the daughter who gets raped and then or son in this case,
right,
who gets raped and has the tongue cut out and the hands cut off.
Oh, God.
And like he didn't drop out as good a job as you could be expected. No, he was there on the night and everything. Wow. And I went out for drinks with the cast afterwards. A bar that was sort of It was actually a sports bar.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Obviously, during the Fringe, there's no one in the whole city who cares about sport. so it was empty as hell. But it was reasonably cheap for Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. So we went in there and we were having a drink and everyone was getting along, and even me and this guy, we were, we'd had a laugh and whatnot. And we were all planning on going to the wonderful Seamain Club, which I'm sure we'll talk about imminently.
Yes, next episode.
He and some other people were like, okay, yeah, gonna go and go back to the flat, get ready, and then we'll meet you there. And I don't know why. I think this must be a particular instinct that I'm sure even you probably share. But I just couldn't leave this on good terms.
Oh, what, self-sabotage?
Yeah, that's the one. So everything, the whole night was going so well. We'd made these plans. We're like, oh, okay, that'd be good. And then this guy said, yeah, so I think I'm gonna head back to the flat, get changed, and then come back. And I said, and this is the best bit, is that it's such a shit little insult. Yeah. I just said, oh, why is that? Have you got a philosophy essay to do? And he just left. Oh. He just went home.
Bless. Would you like to issue a public apology to this?
Absolutely not. You can go fuck yourself.
Oh, well, doubled down, you say.
Everyone gave me the classic look that we certainly, as a pair, have received.
The "you've gone too far" look.
Well, yeah, but the "you've gone too far" look is great because it comes twinned with the I was amused by that, but I'm taking the moral high ground look, which is one of life's great looks.
Yes, it's a victory look.
Definitely.
Isn't it? Yeah, and I also find that a long exposure. Oh, good news! There's a van driving at 3 miles an hour with the loudest wheels on a cobbled street.
Ask the driver.
I'm running away from it. I look like I'm being pursued. Oh yes, I find that the more times that you manage to elicit that look. Oh God, it's just following me. It's just turned the street. I think I'm about to be abducted live on air. The more times you can elicit the look, the more likely it is that eventually they'll come off that high ground and sink down into the depths of, well, it was just funny.
Definitely.
And
I think our good friend Toby, who will be on the show soon, is perhaps the most pertinent example of this.
Absolutely.
As someone who is a lovely man and likes to think of himself as something of a moral authority, because he is a nice person.
Yeah, very nice.
Deep down, he's on board with our regime.
Yes, you can appeal to a very base instinct that Toby works day in, day out to bury within his soul.
I think my favourite example of it is our friend Maya.
Oh, yes. A very similarly kind of principled, very nice, like always good to people attitude. But
and seemingly someone with absolutely no business being our friend, condoning anything we've ever said or done.
Why she tolerates? Oh.
I know, and yet gets along with us very well.
Yeah.
So I think that deep down, I've always said that I think it's because people appreciate us as an outlet.
Yeah, it's good to have an excuse for it. I suppose it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like watching a horror film to scare yourself. I think we're just an outlet for people to be just briefly a little bit mean and then get it out of their system.
Yeah.
It's a service.
It's good.
Ultimately.
We're like the NHS.
Yeah, in a way. Look, I need to wrap this up because my hands are ice cubes all of a sudden. And there's no sign that this van is doing anything other than watching me and loitering as I pace up and down the same bit of street.
I also have to go because I bought fish and chips for dinner.
Uh-huh.
And I asked for large cod and a medium chips.
Uh-huh. Classic.
He said, we haven't got any large. There was a lot more as well, but we'll leave that to the side.
Yeah.
That's for me and my own self-esteem. But he said, we haven't got any large cod, but I can do you 2 small cod and it comes to the same weight. And I said,
sounds fair.
That's absolutely fine. Well, let me tell you that a small cod can now be defined as a fucking shark because there's about a stone of fish on my plate.
That's amazing. I thought it was going to go the other way and you had like a goldfish cracker for dinner.
No, I was eating for about 40 minutes and there's still 80% of the plate covered in fish.
Oh God, that sounds horrible now.
I need to find a way. I'm going to send you a picture.
No, I don't want to see it. Don't put it anywhere near me.
I'm going to spam it onto your wall.
It's covered in cod. You can't see for scales. Horrid.
Oh, so I need to find a way of disposing of it.
There's a seagull army imminent for its fourth flyby, and I need to go and like sort out my life because I'm just on a street. But apologies again for the audio quality that I'm sure will be a persistent shame throughout this episode. Thank you for making it through. And like I said, if you're in Edinburgh, then hit me up. We'll go for a drink.
Yes.
That
also,
could be people I know as well. It doesn't have to be a stranger. I just don't really get in touch with you guys very much.
No.
So reach out.
We also recognise we've had at least 3 or 4 emails this week from you guys, and we very much appreciate that. But we have so little time at the moment,
literally,
and Isaac is about to die. So we will try and address those on Sunday. But we do appreciate those and keep them coming because they are as horrifying as they are endearing.
Tass at shame.city. You can follow the show at That's a Shamecast, Declan at Cynical Declan, Isaac at Isaac BD. Tweet us anything that comes into your head and we'll get back to you with a response. Shame.
And if you want more seagulls on the show, then let us know.
I can record them and just play them at the beginning of every episode to give it that nice outdoors feel that I know we're all going to hate. Thank you for listening to episode 31. I've been Isaac. You've been
Declan.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye, gang.
See you then.
Don't know how to stop this.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to you.